connection point, something like that. Or the end of a, when somebody builds out a pipeline and then they stop, where did it stop at? How can they find that efficiently and precisely? For maintenance, that's been a huge one. You put this into context, AT&T, Verizon, every hand pole that they put out there, this is close to $1 million a year, they put a marker in the lake. And it's funny because the guys who have snow cover, they got real religion about that because they realize, yeah, I think I can see it, but the next thing you know, it's snow on top and they can't find it. In Florida, it's not as, it's not as compelling an application for a hand pole and such like that. Damage avoidance, we're getting more and more people using them in damage avoidance applications, but honestly, a lot of the damage avoidance application is served pretty well by above ground signs, okay? So, fiber optic pipeline, gas pipeline, something you'll see signs out above. A lot of that, they don't have to have a locator to use it and they can see it, okay? The types of markers that exist, I think I put one around here someplace, I didn't want it here. Okay. We have one marker that's a near surface. It's got a 3-foot depth. People would normally put these next to something they thought was going to get paved over, like a manhole cover and asphalt. If they can get paved over, they'll just small hole the drill and they put this in. With the ID on here, we're seeing a lot of application for this. It's actually become our #2 seller for GIS applications. So we're getting lots of companies like in China going back and mapping all their water valves, where they didn't have that before. Lots of people coming back and doing mapping of existing facilities and putting it into their GIS. The near surface product, the ball, it has a little coil, and I think one of my slides coming up has a picture of that. We have a ball, slide ahead, a disc, which is what fits in this, and that'll fit inside a manhole cover or a handhole cover. If it's a plastic, they screw a plastic shell one in here. If it's a polymer concrete or a concrete lid, we actually just have one in a baggie that's molded in. Okay. Ways we see some of the telcos mark an empty conduit. An older product here, just people still buy it, was one of the original markers. Then we have one, I actually had it packed and then it was kind of big and I left it in my car at the last minute, but it's about 16 inches deep. People call them potty seats. And then they'll locate about 10 feet deep. So some of the deeper utilities, water, certainly gravity-fed utilities, they'll put the full range on. Variety of different markers, all color-coded, as I think you guys probably color-coded your pipe. Okay. 3M invented this technology. It was actually a company 3M acquired back in 1982 called Automation Products Company. In 1979, they acquired a company that made locators. In about 2002, in about the 90s, we figured out a way to have one snap on the other, and last decade, we built them all in one. Types of as we see today, there's at least 6 other manufacturers making different locators, and at least half a dozen making markers. Okay, to give you an idea, scale every 25 seconds, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, somebody bears a 3M marker someplace. Sold in 48 countries. Okay. Generally, people start off with a pretty simple application, and I chose a water and wastewater example here. People will start off with a pretty simple application of just marking a stub, marking an access point, things like that. You come back a couple years later, and there's a whole lot of other different applications. Certainly valves, as we get to more trenchless technology, they'll mark the ends of casing. Service laterals, there's been a whole lot of legislation around that recently with horizontal drilling coming through, and when they do the backring, they'll wind up breaking through the sewer line. And through the one-call system, what has happened is the wastewater guys said, well, I'm deeper than anybody, I'm deeper than where you're going to dig. So they didn't mark their line, and so then the guy comes through and he tunnels, and he does get deep enough and does the damage, and that's been pretty well documented. And I think that's a headwind, the plastic pipe. It has to be locatable. There's been a number of states. I'm on a board liaison, the CGA, for the one-call systems, and every year, we look at it, and there's at least 3 or 4 more states passing legislation of marking laterals because of this. Certainly, people mark utility crossings. If it's path, they'll mark the arc of path, a bend, all kinds of different joints and such. One of the neater tricks I saw was the guy at Fort Myers, where they're marking the path of their facility. But what they wind up doing, as opposed to wandering the whole public right-of-way looking for this 6 to 8 foot hotspot, they go ahead and they'll bury the marker, the ones that just every 150 feet marking the straightaway, they bury them by the power pole. So they can just walk up to the power pole and look for the hotspot instead of wandering, the whole right-of-way. Okay? Surface dumps, repair points, valves. I think you can read the list here. Depth changes, laterals, tees, casement ends, access points, all kinds of other things like that. What's it look like inside one of these markers? There's just a resonant coil, some tuning capacitors that help tune it to the right resonant frequency. 3M did develop a custom memory chip, which we call an ASIC, Application Specific Integrated Circuit. Has memory, so now we're programmable. The difference in this versus something off the shelf is it's, oven tested to 250 years. It's low power, so it can be powered by an external reader device. It's very low frequency, so we can go 9 feet through soil and such that you wouldn't see in any of the, toll tags or any of the kind of commercial supply chain RFID applications. Basically, we energize the marker, and then we read the data back from it. So you can see facility information, owner, location information, and such. In more recent years, particularly in Fort Myers, I saw folks burying the markers, and then the engineer coming back and mapping them. So we've come through with other things where we'll put some high-value software on a GPS unit, and we can talk to, at this stage, about 20 different ones. And then if I like, I can go through and as I locate these, I can read them, and the data that's on that marker, I can map at the same time, bring it back to the office, and update my map with the as-built, all right? Because people aren't looking for, they like the marker. The marker is great for the guy out in the field, but the guys in the office want a solution as well. They want to document it very well when they're putting in new construction. I can't lean this against the thing when I have a little GPS bracket. Okay. So let me kind of just give you guys a real quick case study of what we've done here in Fort Myers. It's about an hour drive. I think I flew into Fort Myers. I tried to get the plane into Naples, but I couldn't figure that one out. So, founded in 1921, named after Charlotte Harbor. 50s and 60s, General Development Corp. Platted almost 100,000 lots for sale. Many are just having utilities installed. They sold $600 home lots with $10 down and $10 a month. There's some tower there. They'd climb up into this tower, and they could spot their lot, and then they kind of claim it that way, right? It's kind of selling the American dream of come down here and retire in Florida. These guys buy the sand flats at Punta Gorda. They dredge 55 miles of canals to fill, to raise the ground level 4 feet while providing saltwater access. So that's all the different canal neighborhoods you see here. Population's pretty well grown from 70 to 2003, 18th fastest growing county in Florida. About 1,000 square miles, 79,000 houses. So it consists of about 12 different cities and towns in Charlotte County. Okay. They had approval to do utilities to 80,000 undeveloped lots, water, wastewater, reclaimed water. Mostly reclaimed water was for the golf courses. Approximately 5 million feet of pipeline over a 5-year period, all plastic pipe, guys like that. But they had unfavorable results with tracer work, where they try and bury a 12-gauge wire next to the plastic pipe. I was talking to the chief engineer, and he goes, 10 years from now, it's corroded, and I can't find it. And they do about 2,000 locates a month, where they're required by the one-call system to go out and locate them. Facilities must be easily locatable during the lifetime of the facility. So they place the markers on all predefined facility points: path, all fittings and joints, casing ends, bends and arcs, step changes. They read all markers and they map them, and they exported the data to their CAD GIS system. Here's just a thing of their spec. They chose to actually bury the marker at 18 inches, so they could reprogram it from surface and grade if they wanted to. All change of directions, fittings, absent any valve, straight runs, put them at every power pole. The power poles are further than 160 feet apart.